WMHR.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. It's a live show. You could call into the beautiful studio here in Elk Grove Village at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. And shout out to the show that led into Get Down to Business. Shout out to attorney Stephen Leahy and Jim Leahy and the IRS Radio Hour. Thanks for your good work. I'm absolutely thrilled to kick this program off with an amazing entrepreneur. Actually, just down the street from me, Stephen Klava is an entrepreneur from Evanston, Illinois, and really, really interesting work being done. Stephen, welcome to Get Down to Business.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you. You're a neighbor, and it's always fun to watch hometown heroes, I guess, people making a difference. That's exactly what you're doing, social impact. We were just talking just a little bit before coming live on the air. But, Stephen, you have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Bradley University, and you have taken that degree and accomplished some great things. Stephen, if you don't mind, I'd love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I went to Bradley in Peoria, mechanical engineering, came up to Chicago, started my career at Culligan International, where I did a lot of water softening and filtering. And as exciting that is, my next stint was at Life Fitness. At Life Fitness, I was part of the treadmill team to begin with that created the latest treadmills that you see out on the floor in your gym. So if you hate your treadmill, please don't blame me, but it's one of those things. So after that, I'd say like the Kennedy Expressway killed my career in mechanical engineering. And I think it just took me in new ways. Like I just didn't like getting on that road anymore. And I went out and found a job and I started doing coding and IT stuff and like that. And so I went from there. I did that for about 6 years. We actually won a Google Technology Partner of the Year award with that firm. Some of my code, was part of that. So I feel pretty good about that. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to go out on my own. And so that's what I've been doing. And did a couple websites. And then recently I just created a new app.
Oh, and we're going to talk all about it, Stephen. So you have touched on something using your skill set. You're addressing a challenge, and certainly COVID-19 has only amplified that challenge. Anybody listening to Get Down to Business, I tend to think entrepreneurs, people that want to give back to community. And, giving back in this age of COVID where we are socially distanced, it's a challenge. So you have created what you refer to as the easiest fundraising platform on earth, period. Tell us a little bit about the need that you saw and the solution that you've created.
Yeah, so a lot of entrepreneurs solve a problem that they see in the world, and that's what I wanted to do. I was 45 years old, and I wanted to learn a new coding language called Flutter, Dart, and what it does is it allows you to code once and have an iOS and an Android app. So I wanted to solve a problem I saw in the world, and the problem I saw was that the technology was moving forward in transactions that nobody's using cash. And so the problem I wanted to solve was to allow somebody to create a fund on an app that they could then get cashless donations and make that so incredibly simple that anybody could kind of get to that point.
Totally. And Stephen, it's interesting because I have no doubt, I have no clue what commercials are going to air while I'm on the air, but I could guarantee there's going to be some political-ish commercials that will air. we are in the season of political campaigns, but certainly a season of a lot of people that are struggling financially. So there's a lot of nonprofits, a lot of fundraising that is taking place. And I know you mentioned iOS. I know you mentioned sort of the App Store, but it's not necessary for your platform. So let's walk people through the basics of a political campaign, a nonprofit organization trying to raise for their capital campaign. How does your app work?
Yeah, so it's super simple. You download it, and all of the functions to manage your fund is on the app. So you have to have an iOS or Android phone to do that. You simply create a hashtag, and that is your unique identifier for your fund, and you can make multiple funds. So for political campaign, we do have the donor inputs available, so you can use it for political funding and collect that information. And then once you create your hashtag, you can put it out onto your social networks, and my app has in-tools that allow you to easily put a QR code and the hashtag onto your social posts. And the same is very similar for the nonprofit. There's no difference. They just don't click the I'm a political fundraiser.
So where do you see things going, Stephen? Is this something that maybe not in Christmas season, which is right around the corner, but is this something we're going to see the Salvation Army having the ringers have a QR code on their virtual donation plate?
Yeah, so the QR code is really great in the time of COVID because it allows you to be socially distanced and you don't have to pass cash back and forth between people. And people can just, they don't even have to download the app to give. They actually can just take a picture with a QR code reader or the phone of the QR code, and it will take them to a website donation point. So it's really slick and smooth. One other thought I had was Mercodia. They do the fundraising drives in the streets where the people have the jackets on, and I was thinking, why not put QR codes on that jackets and allow people to do it through that? It was a good idea.
Cool. So where do you see things going in the coming years? I know that you are an entrepreneur at heart. Certainly social impact is near and dear to your heart, which I love. So where are things going? Where do you hope things will be in 5 years from now? And how can our listeners engage and be a part of supporting good causes, but also helping to amplify a pretty awesome app that's doing great things through innovation?
Yeah, so my app can be be run by activists as well. So you can create a fund for something else and then give that money over to them. So it's not something that the nonprofit doesn't have to create it. So it is kind of like there's an activist, and we have a number of people like cure rare disease folks that are trying to raise money for their kids. So that's kind of like recently what I've been getting, and a lot of people are excited about that and they love using the app. But then, in the future, I hope that, I can compete with the GoFundMes of the world, kind of be on that kind of stage.
That's wild. That's totally wild. And Stephen, I love to profile nonprofits and organizations and even businesses that are doing great things. Are there any that you have connected with as you've been sort of promoting the Fund app that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, so the Sports Philanthropy Network just kind of started using my app, and they're going to be using it for their big push in October. So
Roy Kessel, awesome guy.
Yeah, and they're doing something really cool with it. They're challenging them. They're making multiple funds and challenging their groups to have a challenge of who raises the most. So that's kind of another feature you can use with it that really works great.
That's very, very exciting. So, Stephen, we are running out of time, and I want to make sure our listeners know where they can learn more about this amazing app so they can perhaps enter in a hashtag and support a good cause. But if they are running a fund or running even a political campaign, how they can get in on very cool innovation. Stephen, where's the best way that people can learn more?
So klavalabs.com, and also find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Klava Fund, Klava Fund.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to add that to the show notes and, of course, tweet out at you. But appreciate you coming on, and be sure to come back on Get Down to Business to share your exciting updates and news from the guy that as you said has been involved in creating the treadmill. And I hope that that's not going to get you some hate mail over here. The cool treadmills that are on the floor at Lifetime Fitness and so on. Comes some innovation, social innovation, and really awesome to see the Klava Fund app doing some awesome things. Stephen Klava, thank you so much for joining us on Get Down to Business. I encourage everybody to check out klavalabs.com to learn more, and we'll link to it in the show notes.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you can always check out all of the 6.5 years of these shows of Get Down to Business on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you can download all of the podcasts. We post the show if you're just listening on the radio or on the web. You can get on Google, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and subscribe. Click that subscribe button to Get Down to Business. I also host the We All Serve podcast, where we talk about leadership lessons learned in service from those that have put on the uniform. We just had some amazing conversations with John Dankowski, a Navy veteran, some interesting leadership lessons from his time in uniform, time at the White House. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show of all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We'll be right back.